This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo. Time to chat some hockey.
Shot score! North Dakota wins!
The best college hockey writer in the country is on deck.
North Dakota, champions of the college hockey world!
Here's Brad Schlossman.
And the ratings for it have been actually really good to start the first 2 days of this event, where Canada and Sweden play a great game. U.S. blows out Finland. It's something about best on best hockey. It's like soccer as well, at least for me it is, that draws my eyeballs in. Are you surprised by that? The ratings for this have been really good for the first two nights.
Yeah, it has been the talk, so I'm not totally shocked. I think there is something about national teams that play that draw people in. I think people love the Olympics.
Yes.
For that reason. And then you get to see some of these super elite players who are never on each other's team in this really unique setting. And I think that's fun to watch for people.
Well, the Kachuk brothers never played together before. And then last night they're out there and they dominated in that game with Finland.
Yeah, that was pretty entertaining to see those two guys play. And no surprise, they came out big for Team USA. And yeah, I mean, you're seeing, Crosby playing with Nathan McKinnon and all sorts of fun line combinations. It's a really short tournament, but it's going to be fun to watch for the few days. Unfortunately, I wish they weren't playing Saturday night because I'll be covering a game, so I won't be able to watch the U.S.-Canada game, but I'm sure that's going to be wonderful.
Well, in Montreal, with the current political climate, that's going to be awfully intriguing tomorrow night, no?
Oh, I'm sure the crowd's going to be absolutely wild in there, and probably even more so, yeah.
I like this idea in lieu of the All-Star game. Now, the detractors would say shutting down the NHL season makes no sense for 2 weeks, but no one watches the All-Star game anyway. If you want buzz about your sport, I'm on board with this. Maybe not every year, but every couple years, let's do it.
Yeah, I think all-star games in general,
yes,
no matter the sport, everyone's trying to find a way to make their all-star game somewhat interesting and watchable.
Yes,
and teams or leagues are having a tough time with that right now. And this is definitely, I think most hockey fans would agree they're enjoying this a lot more than an all-star game.
And now next year the Olympics are on, and the NHLers are going to go to that. I don't want to put you in a bad spot here, but on the current political landscape, the Russians aren't here. Do we know they're not going to be in the Olympics next year currently, right? At least as we stand right now.
As we stand right now, there's no indication that they're going to be in the Olympics next time. We will see what happens. But maybe they'll be in, maybe they won't. I don't know. That's I haven't heard whether they're going to play or not.
Because that's the other, the albatross or whatever, the 800-pound elephant in the room is, okay, you could have this, but if the Russians aren't there, then how, I'll say legitimate of a tournament is it?
Maybe they'll play without their flag, as we've seen in a lot of sports. I'm trying to remember if they did that in the last Olympics.
They were not the Russian team. There were Russians there, but it wasn't the Russian team.
They were just, I mean, that might be what we see then. We'll see.
You know what? I love it. And they're going to do the World Cup of Hockey in 28, and that's going to be even bigger with, I think, 8 nations there. It's out. I like this thinking. Just keep it going because it's fun to watch. And then you mentioned tomorrow night will be dynamite. All right, you're in Colorado. You avoided the worst airport in the world as well, right? You had nothing with the Denver airport this time around, correct?
No adventures. It was we got in here without a problem. No memories of 2019 when we got diverted to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I rented a car and drove from Albuquerque to Colorado. that was a unique
Yes.
experience. I learned New Mexico is beautiful. I'd never been there, so that being said, I'm okay with just flying straight into Denver.
No, I didn't mean to bring up give you bad memories on this. I think I've been saying this to you 3 of the last 4 times you've been on, but it's go time. I don't know other cliches you want to throw out here, but it's just win, baby. That's what you got to do here it's about as difficult a challenge as UND has with 2 games with Denver starting tonight.
Yeah, Denver's been really good at home this year. Arizona State's the only team that's won a game in Magnus this year. The only
Wow.
opponent that's come into Magnus and earned a win. Um, Denver and UND played in November. Uh, that was a Denver sweep in that series. Since that series, Denver's 8-7 and
Hmm.
1, and North Dakota is 9-5 and 2. So UND has been a little better since that series, but after that series, Denver was 12 and 0, and UND was 5 and 6. So the start of the season really has put UND a little bit behind the 8 ball. And one of the really important factors to the series right now, if the season ended today, Denver would be coming to Grand Forks for the first round of the league playoffs. UND is currently in 4th. Denver is in 5th.
Wow.
And 4th place gets to be at home for the quarterfinals. 5th place is on the road. Ahead of them is Omaha, and Omaha has like a 9-point lead, but Omaha's played 2 more games
Mm.
and has a very difficult schedule going down the stretch, including this weekend at Western Michigan, and Omaha ends at North Dakota. So when you're starting to look at these pieces here, I really think it's going to be North Dakota, Denver, and Omaha fighting for home ice.
Oof.
And series like this could certainly help UND in that chase.
The standings are as tight as I can remember. I mean, and you alluded to it there, where considering where home ice is still for the last spot is completely up for grabs. I know you wrote the column yesterday about how the league has performed.
Yeah.
Is it average? What's the best way to describe it of how the league has played this year, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think that's about right. The NCHC is used to being way above average.
Yeah.
It's had the number 1 or number 2 best non-conference record of any league for each of the last 9 years. And this year it's not.
No.
The Big Ten and Hockey East are pulling away, and you're seeing this is bringing down the entire league. Right now, there would be 3 teams in the NCHC that made the tournament. Arizona State's in the last possible spot, number 13 right now. So any slip up in ASU could be on the outside looking in. Denver, which has already won 20 games. Denver's at 10 in the
Yeah.
pairwise. So they're in an okay spot, but like if Denver has like 2 bad weekends, Denver could find its way onto the bubble. And that's what's happening right now. I looked at like past UND records, and there have been several times in the past 20 years, where UND has had almost an identical record to right now. And those teams were all in the top 16 of the
Huh.
pairwise. This one is 23.
Mm.
And why is that? It's because the league hasn't been as good.
Mm.
Those non-conference games at the start of the year are really important. You do well in those, in your league, your entire league gets boosted. And the opposite happened this year for the NCHC.
I got to ask, with the roster turnover that Brad Berry had this year, still with the guys he had back, in your opinion, through the middle of February, has this team underachieved, in your opinion?
I mean, I thought they would be better than they are right now. I also thought they would have Bennett Smolik as a top pair D all year.
Um,
And, it's one injury, but when he is your only upperclassman on defense, like if you were to come and say to me before the season that Smolik wasn't playing and they're only going to use underclass defensemen, I'd say, yeah, they're going to go through some ups and downs. Like that's impossible not to. I still would have guessed maybe maybe a game or 2 better than where they're at now. But yeah, I mean, I knew that the first part of the season was going to be really interesting with a really young decor, and I looked at the schedule and saw Minnesota State, BU, Cornell, and I thought, you know, that we'll see how they
yeah.
hold up against some of these really good teams, and their start really put them behind.
Yeah.
You're starting the season 5 and 6, and it's become a tough hole to crawl out of.
So for the people that work at Shields Arena, should they be nervous here about UNT right now?
Well, I think they probably have been for
Yeah.
months
Yeah.
now. Like you could see where they're at in the pairwise. You could see that the league had struggled in on, if the league had a little bit better non-conference run, UND would probably be around 16, 17, and then you're looking at much easier striking distance. Um, right now, they're most likely looking at winning the NCHC tournament, which is why home ice is important. Try to play those first 2 games at home, 2 or 3 games at
Yeah.
home. But yeah, I mean, mathematically, could they still get into the top 13 without winning the league? Yes, but it's going to take a type of run that we haven't seen this team go on.
I know you gave a radio interview over last weekend about how dominant the teams out east are, and so just localizing this for the regional in Fargo, what are the chances that there's 3 East teams and 1 Midwest team? Is that a highly likely scenario?
We'll see. I still think they're going to try to get as many Western teams into Fargo as possible, but a lot of times it just is dictated by how the seeding falls. I
Yeah.
would guess there's probably at least 2. And when I say Western teams, I mean, are we talking like Western Michigan being a Western team? Are we talking, Minnesota could be in Fargo. We'll see how it all plays out because I think right now Michigan State and BC have kind of solidified themselves as number 1 seeds, and then there's been a little bit of flip flopping between the 3, 4, 5, 6 area, and so we'll just see how that finishes out. But yeah.
This year, the regionals are Pennsylvania, Fargo, Toledo, and Manchester. So
Yeah.
somebody's going somewhere. Like we've done. I know you've done this to death and done it to death with me on my show. You're going to have teams going somewhere that they're going to be traveling that probably they don't want to. Basically, right?
I mean, my guess is they'll do anything they can to put Minnesota in Fargo.
Yeah.
They know, just being across the border, Minnesota will draw there. Michigan State could be looking at Toledo.
Which is not
BC
bad.
will be looking out east. So I kind of think that they'll try to geographically place some of those teams, and it just is a matter of who is Minnesota going to match up against. I haven't looked at the pairwise the last several days here, but one of the more recent times I looked at it, it would have been a Minnesota-Arizona State matchup, first round in Fargo.
That'd be all right.
And that would be a great matchup for the fans. That's a tough matchup for a number 1 seeded Minnesota team in the first round. So
That'd be fun. That'd be juicy there.
yeah,
That'd get some people in the
that
seats.
that would be a great game, I think.
UND health-wise, I know that's been a constant. You've written about it all year long. Where are they at for this weekend?
Well, that was a big thing early in the year too. Like Cameron Berg, their first line center, goes out, and when you look at the most damaging losses they've had in weekends, it was with Berg out. And this weekend they come to Denver without Jaden Perron, and he's one of their top scorers, and so that's one they're really going to miss, especially because it's too bad for Perron. He was playing really well the last few weekends. He played great out in St. Cloud, and then he played really well in the first period last weekend against CC, and then he got hurt at the end of the first period and didn't come back all weekend, isn't back this weekend, and that's a tough one. So they'll be without Perron, and then obviously Bennett Smolik's out for the year, Caleb Johnson's out for the year, and then Dane Montgomery, I think I'm listing him as probable. I think he'll be able to go, but he's been dealing with a nagging injury.
We can't get away without talking something NCAA related, because this dropped yesterday, or maybe yesterday or Wednesday, and I saw it, and I didn't know this, and I don't know if you did, on the House settlement that will now allow, if you're let's just look at Bemidji State or Mankato, if you have Division I hockey but are D2 and others, you can just opt in for that particular sport. Was that known, Brad, or is that new information?
That the NCAA sent out that note, I think, was it Monday or Tuesday? It was early this week. Had
Yeah.
sent out the notice that was how they were going to interpret that rule. All
Wow.
these, I talked to CC guys on Saturday night, and they were still in the dark. They were like, we have no idea what's going to happen. Yeah, now they can opt in, add scholarships, and probably the really big advantage for those schools is they only have to opt in with their D1 schools.
Right. With their
So, like
sports,
a
right.
Division I school like North Dakota, once you opt in, let's say you want to go over 18 scholarships for hockey, the entire athletic department is opted in, and then you're dealing with roster size limits at every sport.
Yes.
Now, D2, you only have to opt in for your D1 sports, and it would be soccer and hockey for CC. Duluth and St. Cloud could opt in for hockey alone, men's and women's. So
Wow.
that'll be interesting to see how that goes. It'll be interesting to see. The other thing I think that some people are missing with the opt-in schools and stuff is just because you're opting in doesn't mean you're offering that many scholarships.
Correct.
So,
Right.
like, I heard from one school that they told me, we're opting in, but we're opting in for football. They're not giving us one more scholarship for hockey. So actually, we'd hate it because we're roster limited at 26 with no extra scholarships. Now, some are going to offer extra scholarships too. So I think that's the real detail there. Like, I see like one of the Montanas say they're opting in for football. Well, tell me how many scholarships you're offering.
Right.
Are you offering 64,
Right.
65? Are you
Or you're
'cause
doing 100 scholarships. So that's
are you doing
right.
100? Yeah,
Right.
because that's
Yeah.
a major difference.
Correct.
Like, so that's great. You're opting in. Tell us what it means.
Yep.
So I think that's the thing that needs to be figured out.
Last thing for the Big Ten schools, like for Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin, how much of an advantage can that be? Because they have to as part of the settlement.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is. They're going to have more than 18
Right.
scholarships. Are they going all the way up to 26? I think that is in question. But yeah, I mean, right now, Arizona State's obviously an opt-in school, and that's the NCH is in an interesting spot. Arizona State is a really big athletic department sitting in a conference that does not have a lot of other P4 athletic departments. So Arizona State has a lot of money there. We'll see what they go up to for hockey scholarships and how much money they put in there. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely going to be a factor. I mean, there's no question about it.
It's not all football to keep our eyes on what's going on with the house stuff. Great stuff as always, man. Enjoy Denver, and we'll do this again next week, okay?
Perfect. Thanks, Tom.
Brad Schlossman joining us on the road in Denver as UND takes on the Pioneers. 8 o'clock tonight for that matchup. That'll be on CBS Sports Network. We'll take a break. We had a couple emails coming in from our previous topic on the high school transfer route and some other news we want to share with that. We'll do that when Hot Mike returns. Back after this.